Welcome to this walkthrough guide on how to build an AI-powered Obsidian Vault. If you are anything like me, you know this cycle. You watch a great productivity video on YouTube, you get super motivated, and then you move your entire life into a brand new note-taking app. You spend about 3 days building out the perfect dashboard in Notion or a brand new color-coded system in OneNote. And it works great. For about 2 weeks or so. But then the novelty starts to wear off. Life gets busy. You stop tagging your notes. You stop filing things in the right folders. Basically, the friction of maintaining the system just simply becomes too much work. Especially if, like me, you have an ADHD brain that hates doing admin work. And so the system sits there and it starts to rot. And eventually, you basically just declare mental bankruptcy. You abandon the ship, leaving behind a digital graveyard of unfinished ideas, looking for the next shiny new app, hoping that this one is finally going to be the one that works. I know this pattern because I was stuck in that loop for years, until eventually I realized I didn't need a better app. What I needed was a better system that bridges the gap in my own executive function. I needed essentially a second brain that does the heavy lifting for me. So I built an environment that works for me. I've been using it successfully for a while now, and a few of my colleagues have even adopted it too. So I hear what you might be asking. Why Obsidian? Why not just use Notion or Evernote or OneNote? Well, honestly, the answer is surprisingly simple, and it's Markdown. Now, if you haven't used it before, Markdown is essentially the universal standard for formatting plain text. Instead of clicking a bold button, which you can still do, but you could just put 2 asterisks around a word. Instead of a complex proprietary file format that locks you in, your notes are saved as simple text files. This makes them universally compatible, future-proof, and incredibly lightweight. Think about it. Some Microsoft Word documents from the 90s can be surprisingly hard to open today. But a plain text file from 50 years ago is still readable. That is the level of longevity that we want for our second brain. I've dropped a link in the description if you want to geek out on exactly how Markdown works, but the key takeaway is this. Because it is a universal standard, you own your data forever. And more importantly for this particular setup, it's also the native language of AI. Whether you use Gemini, Claude, or ChatGPT, they all speak Markdown language perfectly. This allows us to build a seamless bridge between your messy thoughts and the AI's structured processing. So with all of that out of the way, let's get this whole thing built. Step 1 is to grab the zip file from the link in the description. Once it's in your downloads, go ahead and unzip it. You'll see a folder called Template Files. Now, this isn't just a folder, this is going to be your new brain. It contains all the folders, templates, and settings pre-built for you. But be sure to pause here. You want to rename this folder to whatever you want your vault to be called. I'm calling mine Alex Gemini Vault, because today I'm role-playing as Alex, a freelance web developer and photographer. I want to show you that this system isn't just perfect for me, it actually adapts to who you are. Now, we open up Obsidian. You'll see a big purple button that says Create a New Vault. Just ignore that. Instead, you want to click on Open Folder as a Vault. Navigate to the folder that we just renamed, select it, and hit Open. And we're in. You can think of this as the chassis for our car. It's the structure that kind of holds everything together. But right now, it's just a parked car. It's not going anywhere because it doesn't even have an engine. Inside the Start Here folder, you'll find a user guide. If you prefer reading to watching, that file is going to be your best friend. But for those that prefer to watch and follow along, let's go build the engine. First, we need to pop the hood. So go down to the bottom left corner and click on the gear icon to open your settings. Now head down the list to the tab that says Community Plugins. By default, Obsidian starts in what's known as restricted mode to keep things safe. But we want to give our notes some AI superpowers, so we need to turn this off. Go ahead and click Turn on Community Plugins. And with that, the store is now open for business. Click Browse to go and search the directory. There's literally thousands of plugins available. In the search bar, type Gemini Scribe. This is the specific engine that we're installing in our car today. Click Install. It usually only takes a few seconds to download the files, and there we go. Once it's installed, don't forget the most crucial step. You have to click Enable to actually turn the engine on. Now that it's running, click Options to configure it. First, let's check out the Your Name section. This is where we tell our agent what to call us. I will enter in Alex since I am role-playing as Alex today. Next, look at the plugin state folder just below it. By default, this creates a generic folder that's going to clutter up your main root directory. So let's hide the machinery. Change this path to metadata Gemini Scribe. Next, turn on session history. This is a game changer. It essentially gives you a save game feature. It saves your AI chats as actual files in your vault. Now, this isn't just about being able to resume a chat, which you can. What it means though is that your own AI interactions become part of your knowledge base. You can search them, link to them, and even ask the AI to reflect on past conversations to find patterns in your own thinking. That's a seriously powerful feedback loop. Now we have the chassis and we have the engine, but an engine won't run without fuel. That fuel is your API key. So open your browser and head to aistudio.google.com. Look for the button in the bottom left corner that says Get API Key. Click on that and then click the option that says Create API Key. Now you might need to select a project first. If you don't have one, just click Create New Project. It only takes a second. Once it's created, you'll notice something important. The API key itself does not show up in the user interface here. You cannot actually read the text of the key here, and that is intentional for security. You just need to look for the copy button and click that to grab it to your clipboard. And while we're here, a serious note on security. You will notice that I'm going to be aggressively blurring my key out in this video. I cannot stress this enough. Do not share this key with anyone. This key is essentially like your credit card in text form. And here's why. While Google offers a generous free tier, this is real cloud computing power. If someone else gets your key and starts running scripts, they are using your quota and potentially running up your bill. So if you ever think you accidentally leaked it, be sure to come back to this dashboard and delete it immediately. You can always create a new one if you need. Now back in Obsidian, let's paste that key into the API key box. And finally, let's check out the model options. If you're on the free tier, I highly recommend selecting a Flash or Flash Lite model to avoid hitting any daily limits. Save the Pro models for when you need heavy reasoning. Now, a quick side note for the power users and developers watching. Everything we're doing here with the Gemini Scribe plugin can also be done using Gemini CLI, or Command Line Interface. There's another community plugin that's called Terminal, which can be installed to give you a command line right here inside Obsidian. The main advantage of using this method is authentication. So instead of pasting an API key, you can simply just sign in with your Google account. If you live in the terminal, the CLI is likely a cleaner and slightly more powerful workflow. And it's also worth noting that while this whole setup is currently built around Gemini, the core principle applies to other language models as well. Because we are using Markdown, you're not locked in. If you have a Claude Code or OpenAI Codex subscription, you could simply use a different plugin like Smart Composer to achieve a very similar result. The key here is leveraging whichever AI tool works best for you and your existing subscriptions should you have any. But for this video, we're going to be sticking with Gemini Scribe. Now that the engine is installed, let's tighten the bolts on the chassis. Look at the left sidebar menu in your settings. You'll see a section for core plugins. Go ahead and click on Daily Notes. First up is the date format. I strictly use year, month, day. There is a very specific reason for this. Computers sort files alphabetically. By using this ISO format, alphabetical order becomes exactly the same as chronological order. Your notes will always line up perfectly from oldest to newest without you ever having to organize them manually. Next, take a look at the new file location. Change this to Inbox Daily Notes. We want them all in one bucket. And then the template file location. Browse and select Metadata, Templates, Daily Note. This step is pretty critical. The AI commands that we're going to be using later on, like the morning plan, are programmed to look for specific headers in this file. If you don't use this template, the AI won't know where to write, and the commands basically won't work. Now, one last stop while we're here, click on Files and Links in the sidebar. Look for the default location for new notes. Change this to in the folder specified below and select Inbox. This supports that whole philosophy of capture now, organize later. And then finally, look for default location for new attachments. Change this also to in the folder specified below, but then set the path to attachments. This forces all of your images into their own dedicated closet, keeping your actual notes nice and clean. Now, before we wake up the AI, a quick word on freedom and synchronization. Because Obsidian stores these files right on your computer, you own your data. But that also means that it doesn't magically appear on your phone unless you tell it to. You have two main options here, and honestly, you're free to choose either. Option 1 is Obsidian Sync. This is the official paid service. It's the easiest way to sync between iPhone, Android, Mac, and Windows. Basically, it just works. Option 2, on the other hand, is the potentially free route. Because these are just text files, you can just move this entire Vault folder into your Google Drive or iCloud Drive. But one word of warning here, do not use both at the same time. Please don't put your Vault in iCloud and turn on Obsidian Sync. That is just a recipe for data corruption. Essentially, pick a lane and stick to it. Now, here is also the ultimate proof that you aren't locked in. Go to any note, right-click on the title, and select Reveal in System Explorer, or Finder if you're on a Mac like I am. This opens the actual folder on your hard drive. There is your file. You could open it in VS Code, Notepad, email it, or move it to a different app entirely. You are never trapped in this system. Okay, now the car is built, the engine is installed, and it's fueled up. Now we basically need to teach it how to drive. So navigate back to the Start Here folder and open the file named Setup Wizard. Now please note, we're not actually going to edit this file ourselves. You can think of this document as the driver's manual. It contains the prompt engineering that converts Gemini from a generic chatbot into a specialized system administrator. To run it, take a look at the ribbon menu on the far left-hand side. You will see a small sparkle icon. Click that. Now we need to tell the AI what to read. So we simply type the @ symbol. In this system, the @ symbol essentially acts like an attachment selector. So choose the Setup Wizard file from the list. This loads those instructions into the AI's memory. And then simply type, "I am ready to start the interview," and hit enter. The AI is now processing. It's adopting the persona of a consultant and preparing to interview us. Here is question 1. It asks about my profession. I'm going to answer as Alex, our web developer. Now, why is this important? The system needs to know your work context to structure your project's folder. If I tell it I'm a developer, it'll probably create folders for code bases. If I told it I was a chef, it would probably create folders for menu planning instead. It tailors the taxonomy to you. Question 2. It asks about hobbies. I'll mention landscape photography. The logic here is crucial. The system here is using the para method. It needs to know the difference between a project, which has a deadline, and an area, which is a standard to be maintained. This prevents project burnout by ensuring that your hobbies aren't treated like urgent tasks. If you ignore a project, it fails. If you ignore an area, it just degrades slowly. The AI understands this distinction. Question 3. The migration check. It asks if you have any existing notes to import. If you're an existing Obsidian user, this is your moment. You can now drag and drop your entire old Obsidian Vault into the inbox folder right now. The AI would then scan every single file and propose a plan to file them into your new structure. But for today, I'm just going to say no and start fresh. Question 4. Daily notes. I tell it that I'd like them to archive them monthly. This setting tells the AI to act as a janitor, automatically sweeping my old daily notes into archive folders so that my workspace stays pristine. And then finally, tone and dialect. I'm specifying Australian English. This is the secret sauce for the DAIify command. It ensures that the output sounds human and local, not like a generic robot. Now stop and look at this pop-up. The AI is asking for permission to create folders. Tick this box that says, "Don't ask again for this session," and click Allow. This is what we call a session trust token. It basically grants permission only until you close the app or start a new chat. It's the perfect balance between convenience and security. If you wish to have more control over your systems, you can choose Allow or Decline on each individual request from the AI. And then finally, we have the memory commit. You'll notice that the AI has created a file called Agents Updated. You can think of this agent file as essentially the brains of the outfit. By forcing the AI to write changes to a staging file first though, and asking you to copy and paste them into the main agent's file, we still keep a human in the loop. You want to think of the AI here as a junior employee, right? They can draft the contract, but you are the boss. You have to sign it before it becomes official. You are always in control of the files that run your life. Now, let's take a look at what it built. It used the para method: projects, areas, resources, and archive. You can see here inside projects and areas, it has automatically created a collection of folders based on the suggestions it made during the interview. Now, I personally use the para method because it organizes information by actionability. Is this a project with a deadline, or is it just a resource for reference? That distinction helps keep my brain clear. Projects are essentially your workbench. This is where the bulk of your time will likely be spent. Resources are your library. You go there to look things up, but you don't live there. And the archive is essentially your cold storage. It keeps the system fast by hiding everything that you aren't working on right now. But you might hate folders. You might prefer the Zettelkasten method of linking or the Johnny Decimal system. That is completely fine. Because this is AI driven, you can literally just start a chat and say, "Hey, I prefer the Zettelkasten method. Please propose a new folder structure and help me move my files." The AI will then help you refactor the entire vault. The structure of your notes should always serve you, not the other way around. Alright, let's now see the magic in action. I've just found a great cheat sheet for CSS. I don't have time to file it, so instead I just simply create a new note, paste it in, name it CSS, and be done with it. Capture now, organize later. And a pro tip, when you want to find that note later, don't go digging through all the folders. Simply hit Command O or Control O on Windows. This brings up the fuzzy finder. I just type in CSS and hit enter, and I'm there instantly. Now, let's tidy up. I open up the chat and ask it to run the inbox processor. Watch what happens. The AI reads the content, figures out it's about CSS grid, gives it a proper title, applies the relevant tags, and physically moves it to the right folder. If I'm ever curious where the AI put it, I can just right-click the File tab and choose Reveal in Navigation. It jumps straight to the folder location in the left-hand sidebar. Now, fast forward to 5 p.m. We run our daily review command. This command runs in 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 is the input. The AI asks for final thoughts. I give it a brain dump, meetings, unfinished tasks, random ideas. Phase 2 is the triage. While it processes my notes, it scans the inbox. If I left anything messy in there today, it would tag it and file it for me automatically. And phase 3 is the migration. This is the magic. It generates a natural language summary for my day. And if there's any tasks that I didn't complete, it'll likely create tomorrow's daily note for me now and copy the tasks there. It helps me close the loop. I can basically close my computer knowing exactly what I need to do when I wake up, without carrying that mental load with me all evening. Now, so far we've looked at the standard commands, but the real power is that you aren't locked into my workflow. You can build your own tools using this foundation. To make this easy, I've included a special agent command called, funnily enough, create command. Think of this as a software developer that lives inside your chat window. Let's say you're a content creator. You might find yourself constantly rewriting your technical notes into social media posts. You could build a command called content repurposer. You would simply tell the agent, I want a command that takes my technical notes and rewrites them for LinkedIn and Threads. The AI will then interview you and then design the tool for you. Once it generates the code, it follows the same safety protocols as before. It creates a new agent's updated file. You simply copy that new recipe, paste it into your main agent's file, and suddenly you have a brand new tool in your arsenal. The only limit is your imagination. And then as a final step of cleanup, if the automation process hasn't automatically removed the Start Here folder for you, you can simply delete that folder as well as the original Gemini Scribe folder that was created by the plugin originally. And with that, you're basically done. Now, I've shown you the mechanics, the chassis, the engine, the fuel. But how does this actually look in practice? Let me walk you through my personal daily routine to show you how I use this system to help me run my life. In the morning, I start every single day by running the morning plan command. I grab my coffee, I open up a new chat, and I just do a complete brain dump. I usually do this via voice to text because it's far easier for me to just throw my ideas at a wall via voice. The AI then takes all of that chaos, figures it all out, and structures it into a clear agenda. And crucially, it automatically links to any of my existing notes for my active projects. It basically sets the stage for me to help me continue my work throughout the day. And then as I'm jumping between calls or deep work, I just dump things in the inbox. I don't stop to file any of it. And if I need to send a quick update or rewrite a drafted note so that it doesn't sound so robotic, I'll use ad hoc commands like the DAIify command. This one is one that honestly I use pretty constantly. It takes generic robotic text and rewrites it to sound human using my specific tone and my dialect. It's great for when you know what you want to say, but you can't really get the words out right. And then in the evening, this is the non-negotiable. I run the daily review. I decompress, I throw all my final thoughts into the chat, and let the AI summarize my wins. It checks off any tasks that I've completed based on the notes that I gave it, and it moves any unfinished tasks to tomorrow. It clears my mental RAM so that I can switch off without worrying that I've forgotten something. And that's honestly just the tip of the iceberg for my workflow. The beauty of this system is that yours is most likely going to be different. But you can use this system and make it bend to fit you, instead of you having to try and fit the structure of my tool. And there you have it, a second brain that actually thinks with you. We built the chassis, we installed the engine, and we filled it with fuel. Now it's ready for you to drive. The link to the template, as I mentioned, is in the description. Download it, run the wizard, and make it your own. And one last thing, I want to know how you use this. Did you stick with the para structure, or did you build some crazy custom command? I want to know about it. Let me know in the comments below. I do read all of them, and I'm always looking for ways to improve these systems. Happy note-taking, and I'll catch you in my next video. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, be sure to check out the channel. And if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.